Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us for the PSE&G CNI Energy Efficiency Program Trade Ally Training. Just a reminder, this session will be recorded and the entire session will be available after the training is completed. If you miss anything, don't worry, you'll have a copy of this after. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Rennie Yu, the Outreach Supervisor for the program, and I'm joined with my colleague and Outreach Lead, Zainab El-Shebli. In today's training, we'll be focusing on the tools and resources you'll need to participate as a member of the Trade Ally Network. The training today will be broken into two presentations. I'll be covering the program portfolio, program eligibility, workbook, documentation, and paperwork. And then we'll have a quick 5-minute intermission just to take a quick break, and then I'll switch over to Zainab for the balance of the training, which includes the measures, incentive guide, OBR, Trade Ally resources, and additional program communications and reminders. I also like to remind everybody to please utilize at the bottom of your screen there's a Q&A chat. So please, any questions that come up during the presentation, please utilize that chat. And at the very end of the session, we'll go over your questions. And then if anybody else has any other additional questions, please feel free to speak up and turn off your mics, and we'll go over that. During the Q&A sessions, we ask to please limit your questions pertaining to this training for the tools, procedures, and program documents. Okay, let's get started. All right, we'll start with each of the energy efficiency programs that TRC manages. There are 3 sub-programs that we manage. Today, we'll be covering the Prescriptive and Engineer Solutions Tier 2 Advanced Custom programs in detail. The Direct Install program will be covered in a separate training. To briefly mention Direct Install, or DI, it's a program offered to business customers that have 12-month individual facility electricity average peak demand of less than 300 kW or natural gas consumption of less than 40,000 therms annually. As some of you may know already, the natural gas eligibility for DI is new for 2025. Additionally, all direct install projects can only be performed by PSE&G approved direct install trade allies, and the incentives can only be paid directly to the trade ally. Again, additional details will be covered in a separate DI training, so please keep an eye out for the direct install program announcement coming soon. Program eligibility for the Prescriptive downstream program. Real quick, a quick announcement before moving on to the details and program eligibility for the Prescriptive and Advanced Custom. I would like to remind our Trade Ally Network about the New Jersey address requirement that affects all programs. Trade allies must provide a valid New Jersey address or establish a New Jersey business going forward to remain an active trade ally. If a New Jersey address is not provided under the Prescriptive Advanced Custom program, trade allies will not be able to receive the incentive payments directly. It will be designated to the customer, and the trade allies will not be eligible and trade allies will not be eligible to participate under the direct install program if there is not a valid New Jersey address. Okay, let's get into the Prescriptive program. This is our most broad program covering all commercial customers located within the PSE&G service territory. The program offers incentives to reduce the upfront costs for installing pre-qualified energy efficiency equipment. Available in the Prescriptive workbook is a comprehensive incentive guide which shows qualified measures. Customers may work with any contractors of their choice or select a qualified provider from the Find a Trade Ally list, which is located on the bizsave.pseng.com website. Prescriptive projects can go through two processes, the pre-approval or the look-back option. The pre-approval option is for projects not yet installed, and the look-back option is for eligible measures that may be incentivized for qualifying period after the installation. New for 2025, as many of you may know already, is the qualifying period for look-back projects is a 90-day period, where previously was 180 days in the previous program. Eligibility for the program, the customer must be a non-residential rate class customer and have a PSE&G electricity and or gas service. But here's an important point. The measures that they are applying for need to be applicable to the PSE&G service. For example, if a customer is a PSE&G gas-only customer, they cannot submit a lighting project through the PSE&G program. They should go through their electricity provider in that particular service territory. Also important to note is that the project must result in a permanent reduction in kilowatt hours and or therms applicable to the PSE&G service, and the qualified equipment must meet or exceed energy efficiency requirements stated in the incentive guide. Okay, let's go on to the Advanced Custom Program. Next, about the Advanced Custom Program. The Advanced Custom Program offers incentives to reduce the upfront cost of non-standardized out-of-the-box measures not currently offered under the prescriptive program categories. I'm happy to share that all Advanced Custom incentives have increased for the 2025 program year. As you can see, gas savings incentives is now $7 per therm saved. Previously, it was $3.50 per therm. Electric savings for lighting measures now 50 cents per kilowatt hour saved. And electric savings for non-lighting measures is $1 per kilowatt hour saved. Previously, the electric savings incentive was 16 cents per kilowatt hour for both lighting and non-lighting measures. So these are both all across the board. These are a significant increase across the board under the new Advanced Custom Program. Under Advanced Custom, the incentives are capped at 60% of total project costs, and the qualifying region that TRC implements is the PSE&G Advanced Custom Region 3 territory, which includes the following counties. That's Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Monmouth, and Ocean County. Eligibility for custom applications are subject to the following requirements: supplying sufficient technical information, documentation, and performance data from associated equipment. The incentives are calculated based on energy savings from the project. So the projects are reviewed by a member of our engineering team who can assist with analyzing energy savings. Available also is a group of data collection forms, which are custom measure specific and will help make participation in this program as streamlined as possible. All right, let's move on to the application workbook. The first step in applying is to download the most recent workbook. The most recent workbooks for prescriptive and advanced custom are available through the Trade Ally Resource SharePoint folder. If you're not familiar or if you don't have the link for the Trade Ally Resource SharePoint folder, please reach out to your energy efficiency advisor for access. It's a great source for all program documents, trainings, case studies, workbooks, FAQs, and much, much more. So please be sure to check the SharePoint folder regularly as well to ensure you are using the most current version of the workbook. There tends to be updates that do come up every so often just to fix any bugs or update any incentive measures. So please check that website regularly to ensure you're using the most current version. The other link for the most recent application is on the bizsave.pseng.com site. On that site, there is a link for an online incentive application that can be filled out similar to the workbook by entering the customer's information and inputting the measures. If the equipment is not listed on that prescriptive application, then it may be eligible for an advanced custom application. So please reach out to your energy efficiency advisor to confirm before submitting. And also available within the workbook are several documents that need to be printed and signed and submitted through the online portal. One of the new items to mention in 2025 under the prescriptive and advanced custom programs is what was formerly known as the terms and conditions. In 2024 is now called the participation agreement. So it used to be called the prescriptive and custom T's and C's, but now it's the prescriptive and custom PA or participation agreement. Other documents, if applicable, that can be pulled from the workbook is the payment release authorization form. And if the customer is allowing the incentive to be sent to the trade ally to the network directly. And also the on-bill repayment application can be pulled from the workbook as well if the customer is applying for OBR. Please note on all these documents, all signatures must be wet signed, but if it's electronically signed through an e-sign platform such as like DocuSign or Adobe Fill and Sign, the e-sign document must include the validation or tracking page provided by the e-sign company. So typically when you use DocuSign or Adobe Fill and Sign or any of the other platforms, there should be a tracking certificate that you can download or it's attached to that particular document that is used for each document. So, and also please be sure to have a certificate for each document for the participation agreement, PRA, OBR, anything that needs a signature. We need a separate e-sign certification for each one. So, and another note, please note that typed signatures will not be accepted. Okay, moving on. The application process. So the application submission process starts with logging into the online application portal, which we'll cover in the upcoming slides, and uploading the workbook and all required documents. Our team will review the application for completeness and validate all inputs. If a project is selected for an on-site verification and inspection, a member of our team will reach out to the customer directly to schedule. Please ensure the customers are aware of this requirement and anticipate TRC reaching out to them. So we also ask that the site contact is someone who can escort our inspectors and is aware of the project scope. Any inconsistencies observed on site compared to what is listed in the workbook would result in inspection failure, delay of pre-approval, and ultimately quality control evaluation. So please be diligent in filling in the details, including the appropriate facility type on the workbook. Once that step is complete, we'll issue a pre-approval letter indicating work can begin. This is solely for projects applying for pre-approval. Those coming through our look back option will not receive pre-approval. The approved incentive on bill repayment amount, if applicable, and the timeline the approval is valid through will be listed on the letter. After installation is complete, final paperwork should be submitted through the online portal. The final review will be similar to the initial review and may include a post-installation on-site verification inspection. Once this phase is complete, the project will be submitted for payment. Final paperwork will be reviewed on the upcoming slides. So once you navigate to this site, I suggest bookmarking the link so you can access it quickly. And then on this page, you just see when logging in for the first time or for subsequent use, accessing the site, you'll select the Trade Ally login over here and use the sign up feature right down here towards the bottom of the page to create a username and password. And then this can be stored for future use. Once logged in, you'll be on this home screen here, which allows you to quickly create a new application, view any draft applications that you have and that you've previously started, or update your Trade Ally profile and contact details. So that's where all this, my draft application, my profile, start application is all on this page. To start a new application, you must have a valid PSE&G account number, and that is again a valid commercially rated commercial rate class account number. If you see a residential account or you enter a residential account number by mistake, it won't be valid and won't be accepted. And also when you're uploading or attaching any documents to the portal uploads here or to the submission, we ask if you separate each QPL, qualified product listing, or DLC sheets or spec sheets. Please keep them all in separate PDF files. And then for especially the DLC sheets, we ask for full PDF versions of the QPL, not the screenshots. A lot of we receive a lot of submissions through screenshots, but for here, please, you can download the full version, save it, and then just upload it through the portal here. All right, on this application dashboard, this is the Trade Ally portal. Through the left-hand menu, you can also view your full application dashboard, which will house all the submitted projects and lay out relevant details, such as those currently pending review, projects already pre-approved, on hold, or discontinued. The great part about each tab is you'll be able to view things like the incentive, the submission date, status while under that phase. And then a new and exciting feature, or is one that maybe many of you are already familiar with on the left, is the action required. This section will show any open action for you on any projects that's already been submitted, any deficiencies. For instance, if we identify that we are missing one of the signed forms during our review, we will create an action that will deploy an email to you informing you there is a pending item requiring your attention. So on the email should be a link that will take you right back to your portal, and then you can log in and you can see what the action item is. So once you navigate back here, you'll be able to identify the issue and quickly resolve it by uploading the required documentation. All from the same section, all from the same section here. So I also wanted to add and make our Trade Ally network aware about the action required items. For the action required items, we are implementing a 2-week period for you to address the action requested. If the action is not addressed within 2 weeks, there will be a warning notice for discontinuation sent out by our team through the action required field on the portal itself. So we just ask, please monitor your portal regularly so you don't miss any notifications for documents and inquiries. So we appreciate that. All right, let's jump into filling out the workbook. Here we'll take a closer look at the prescriptive workbook. The first place to start is the Welcome tab, which will provide you with resources and hyperlink, such as the DLC links, the Energy Star, Trade Ally portal, a lot of great information and resources here if you need it at a click of a button. And then the instructions tab here. So we ask you, don't skip over the instructions tab if you need some help. But it's pretty nice workbook, step-by-step guide of navigating the workbook, along with some helpful tips to ensure you don't get stuck on any of the fields here. So as you can see, instructions and everything step by step, and then you got the arrow here to take you to the next field and the next field, and so on and so forth. Any fields that you see here that requires a input are noted as required to ensure that we're not missing any key details. And of course, you want to keep an eye on the progress meter here before submitting before submitting the workbook itself. Please make sure this is at 100% before submitting, or unfortunately, we'll have to send it back for you to update. So you'll see that progress meter in the right there. Here you have two spots for company contact. The company contact should be the person responsible for the paperwork, signing all the documents, such as your participation agreement, OBR, PRA, or payment release authorization, and so on and so forth. And then here in the technical site section must be a representative that's knowledgeable of the site. So just a customer representative that can verify the scope of work and assist with any on-site measure verifications during a pre-inspection or during a post-inspection. So as I mentioned earlier, the workbook is easy to navigate, step by step, arrow by arrow. It's a nice guide towards the top that will show you tabs that are completed. In the dark blue color, you can see that that's completed, and then anything in the white is currently being inputted. And then the tabs that are requiring inputs are in the lighter shade of blue. So you got dark blue, this is the one you're currently in, and then anything else that needs to be completed is in a light blue shade here. Once the customer and trade ally information is filled in, you'll select the appropriate equipment type from the selections here. The necessary equipment details will be requested based on the measure type. You can also use multiple equipment types on one application. So you can enter lighting, HVAC, refrigeration, just anything all in one application. You don't need to have separate applications unless they're installed in separate phases. Then you can submit for the same site, but under different phases as well. This last tab is a great resource. They'll summarize all the key details you've inputted so far into the application, and will also show you on the left hand side of any required fields that may be missing, so you can quickly remedy them. So there's like hyperlinks where you can just click on the updates and that'll bring you back to the sections quickly, or you can just click on the tabs up top to get back to the sections you need to complete. The incentive summary towards the right side will show the customer the project scope, the savings, the incentive associated with it. And this particular page makes a good proposal piece too as well. So you can have a summary of all the estimated incentive on this particular page or tab. All right, facility types. Facility types is something we like to drill down to, as we've seen some scenarios that might need clarification. Ultimately, the predominant usage of the facility type should be selected. For instance, there is a project at a warehouse that has a small back office. The building type should be selected as the portion that is predominant usage that has a larger square footage. There are some cases where other is the most appropriate selection, but should be used only when one of the standard options do not fit the space. An example is a bowling alley, ice skating rink, or an arcade. In these cases, if it's not listed, Under our building facility types, you can select other should be selected. As I mentioned in the earlier slides, the improper selection of a facility type may lead to inspection failures and quality control evaluation. Okay, we're going to go for a closer look at the documentation at each stage of the project. You'll notice that we broke out the required documentation based on the pathway to participation. So look-back projects will submit all required documentation after installation, along with the workbook. We'll need the signed participation agreement, payment release authorization. If the customer is signing the incentive to the trade ally or to you, the W-9 of the payee, which must be signed, dated no older than 3 years, 3 years old. Cut sheets for all measures, which clearly identify the model, appropriate model numbers. In addition, we need the QPL, for example, the DLC or the Energy Star certificates for lighting, and then the AHRIs for the HVAC measures, and the invoice reflecting total project costs, including itemized labor and material, which we'll cover more in detail in the upcoming slides, and the customer's on-bill repayment application, if applicable. For pre-approval, we require all of the same documentation. However, it's now broken up into 2 phases, a set of documents for pre-approval and a set to submit after installation is complete, all your completion documents. All right, so for documentation and paperwork, this is a great guide here. Within the workbook, there's a tab within the workbook that says required documents. Here you'll find a nice comprehensive list of required documents that help guide you in preparing for your application submission. You'll also find any additionally required supporting documentation based on specific measures types. So please use this resource to make your submission go as smoothly as possible. And the forms that require signatures are embedded within separate tabs of the workbook and should save it as a PDF to allow for wet or digitally certified signatures. So on this paperwork, I like to point out this is the new participation agreement, as many of you are familiar with. All fields must be completed for submission to be accepted. So the participation agreement contract number field here, if you're not familiar already, please input the 10-digit PSE&G account number here. And the application number should be entered as TBD unless a project number is already identified. So if you do receive a project number ahead of time, you can put it here, but typically when you're submitting it, you don't have a project number yet. So you can just enter TBD here, TBD here. When you're sending it back or you're uploading it through the portal with the application, all 11 pages of the document are required to be uploaded. So it cannot be just the first page with the information and the last page with the signatures. It has to be all 11 pages. So please keep that in mind. Here's a closer look of the payment release authorization. This is only needed if a customer is assigning the incentive payment to someone other than themselves. The corresponding payee information should match the appropriate party and should match the W-9 submitted with the project. Please note, we only require the payee W-9 for the project. The corresponding payee information should match the appropriate party and should match the W-9 submitted with the project note. We only require the payee W-9 for the project. So anything that you have listed here as the payee, everything must match the form over here on the payment release authorization or the PRA. Again, just keep in mind, if it's payee to the trade ally, there's a drop down here for the trade ally or for the customer, and then the payee company name must match the W-9. And for those that are not familiar, the on-bill repayment program is a great feature that helps customers cover the upfront costs associated with their energy efficiency projects. It can cover the balance of the project costs minus the incentives and can be repaid directly on a customer's utility bill at 0% interest over a 60-month period. In order to apply, the customer would simply need to sign a form within the workbook, the on-bill repayment application or the OBR application, and populate. Most of it will be auto-populated based on information that was entered in the customer tab section of the workbook. But please note there are a few fields within the form highlighted here that will require additional inputs. So a lot of these other inputs here will be most of the time, just keep an eye, make sure it's all completed. But for the most part, the OBR application will auto-populate the top section here with the account information. But please, you'll have to select the sections here and enter more information here. If the on-bill repayment is approved, there's a agreement, an applicable agreement submitted with the closeout documents that the customer signs, acknowledges consenting to repay the listed balance. Since there are many incentive changes, or there may be incentive changes based on our paperwork review or post-inspection, we ask you to refrain from having the customer sign this form in the beginning. Just to hold off on the OBR repayment agreement. Yes, the application we need to run to see if they qualify, but for the OBR repayment agreement, please hold off on asking the customer to sign until the final incentives are determined by the team, by our program team. Once confirmed, we will send a on-bill repayment agreement to you so you can have the customer sign off on the OBR repayment agreement. The project completion certificate will also auto-populate based on the project data already input within the workbook. This requires signature by both the customer and the trade ally, and should only be signed and submitted after the project is fully installed and commissioned. So please be sure. So anything in blue here, these sections will be auto-populated. But just please keep in mind when you're filling this out and sending it in, the updated install measures box 1, please have these checked off. And then customer signature goes in the first section here, and the contractor's signature goes here. The trade ally signature goes here. Keep in mind, if you do have these two sections, DocuSign or e-sign, electronic signature, and you're using two separate companies, or actually it will be separately signed, will require two separate certificates for each signature. That's if you're going the electronic signature route here. And one of the other requirements, and now we're on the sample invoice, one of the required documents that seem to hold up on projects or slow down projects is the verification of the invoice that's typically supplied by the trade ally. So the invoice should contain the model numbers, quantities, material, and labor costs separately broken out, and tax if applicable. This sample shows a ideal template to use to ensure quick and efficient validation. All information in the workbook should match the inputs on the invoice. So model number, quantities, labor material price, what you see here should be exactly the same on the workbooks. So just make sure everything matches on there. And And that's pretty much it for my section. We're gonna take a quick oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention about inactive accounts. Sorry. One more project submitted with an inactive utility account. Um, Basically, when you install a project or any projects prior to that, or if you submit a application with an inactive account, it'll be placed on hold. Can't proceed with an inactive account. Um, all submissions must be tied to an active utility account at the time of application. So if you have an inactive account, we unfortunately we won't be able to move forward until an active account is provided. So just follow up with the customer and make sure we have an active. And we cannot pay projects that have inactive accounts. So incentive payments are only processed for projects to an active utility account. If the account becomes inactive before payment is due, the payment will be withheld until the issue is resolved or a new active account is confirmed.
So we will be going over a few of our measures, commonly for prescriptive and custom. So these are common measures for the prescriptive program. We wanted to touch on lighting first because prescriptive lighting measures are most commonly used in the program, not that it's the only category, but this is what we see most often. So we just wanted to make sure and go over that we do accept ENERGY STAR certified fixtures and bulbs. We also accept DLC listed fixtures, bulbs, whether they're interior, exterior, or linear replacement lamps. We also approve any non-listed lighting products that are considered LED exit signs because they don't have the actual DLC or ENERGY STAR listing, but we will accept them if you send us over a spec sheet. Non-listed lighting products also include NLC controls, network lighting controls, or standalone controls. We will go over those in a few slides to discuss the new categorization of network lighting controls and how we classify them. We will also look at a few of the DLC sheets and ENERGY STAR certifications for you to know how to read those certifications for our workbook inputs. Here at the bottom, you will notice this note is going to be something that is consistently viewed in the next few slides. It is a reminder that ENERGY STAR, as of last year, the end date was December 31st, 2024. They started to sunset some of their qualifications and fixtures. Therefore, they are considered delisted on the ENERGY STAR site after that date. Due to the delisting, they are not going to be items that we can actually incentivize. In the workbook, as you start to go through it, there are some ENERGY STAR measures that are still considered listed in the workbook for incentives, as long as we have the ENERGY STAR certification that shows that it was relisted in 2025, or that we can validate that it was a listed item during your time of installation. We can take them into consideration on a case-by-case basis. So please make sure for any 2025 project, whether it's fast track or pre-approval, if you are submitting anything with ENERGY STAR, that you check their site, that it's a currently listed item, and that it was not sunsetted back in December. We've had a few of these come up into play, so we just want to make sure we announce it. So you will see this comment and this note on a few of the slides as a reminder. So these are just some common prescriptive measures that we see frequently. This list is also other incentive measures for the prescriptive program that we like to see and include for a full comprehensive scope of work. A lot of the times you may feel comfortable with one specific measure or item, so you continuously work through workbooks with that. But just keep in mind, our incentive guide is vast. We encourage you to feel a little uncomfortable and read through the list. Work with each other as partners to see if you can expand your horizon for not only lighting or not only HVAC controls, but you can see how vast our incentive guide actually is, where we include some food service measures, water heater measures, even some refrigeration and agriculture, plug load controls. HVAC measures are very common as well. For anyone that dabbles into multiple programs, you will see some of the same things populate here. Just regular heat pumps, gas furnaces and heaters, and then other controls like boilers and tune-ups. So we just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of the other measures that the prescriptive program includes. We will go over a few of these as well in the next few slides, where we actually show you some of the uncommon measures that you can submit applications for if you feel uncomfortable, going through them or reading the spec sheets to know what is actually being asked of you in the workbook. Some of them will include the food service measures that we don't see so often, but we highly encourage. We are going to jump into a category that is called network lighting controls. For any of you trade allies that are already familiar with sensors or lighting measures, this might just be a refresher or something that we just mentioned for the new classifications of the Triennium 2 program. As of this year, the NLC program definitions have been tweaked a little bit. So just to go through it, if we say NLC, it just means Network Lighting Control System. These systems will need to be 5.0 version certified through DLC for us to verify that product. The system must also be considered facility-wide for the controls, and it must be controlling new LED fixtures. So this is not something that is going to be installed in the fixtures that are currently there, that the customer is not already replacing. They cannot be on like fluorescent lights. They need to be controlling new LED fixtures. Facility-wide has come into play this year, and there are some sections of the facility that might not have to be utilized to be considered facility-wide. Those areas would be smaller spaces, such as closets, stairwells, exterior fixtures, for it to still be considered facility-wide. We understand some customers might not want controls in all areas of the building. But if you are going to be doing any network lighting controls and you need some further definition on the facility-wide, please let us know. We are working on deploying a definition to the Trade Ally group in the next few weeks or so. So that is one of the biggest changes. As of December 2024, we did include for any NLC system to include a bridge, gateway, or hub. So that was announced the last year previously to the Triennium 2 launch. However, we just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware this still is a classification for this new Triennium. So you will have to hit all of these categories for the NLC control system to be classified as NLC. Some of the required documentation for the NLC projects for us to be able to review, validate, and certify would be we need the controls for the controlled fixture, the new LED replacement that you guys are encountering or that you are replacing. We will need either the spec sheet or the certification of that fixture so we can look at the wattage and we can classify that LED light. We'll also need the sensor spec sheets for the sensors that are going to be included for the fixture. If the sensor is embedded, as long as the spec sheets provided are shown and it says it's an embedded sensor, then that's perfectly fine. We will also need the full NLC DLC PDF. It cannot just be a screenshot. We will need all of the pages. I believe sometimes they're between 3 to 5 pages. Please just go ahead and print the entire PDF so that we can include that in your submission. We will also need the NLC product ID. That can be submitted via a screenshot. That is perfectly fine. Through the DLC website, for some reason, it does go away once you try to print out the full PDF, and we completely understand that. So although it's the same document, we will ask you for the product ID to be verified as well. And then we will also need the system spec sheets that clearly represent a gateway, bridge, or hub being used. It cannot just be the sensor. It will have to be also the system that is being attached for the BMS or the system to be integrated so we can validate that as well. For those of you that have not used a gateway hub or a bridge prior, we did start to include some of the examples here. So I will go next. You will see these are just examples of the common ones that we have seen and that we have certified in the program thus far. Not that these are the only brands that you can use, but we just wanted to utilize them as examples for you. So if you look to the left here, you will clearly see that it is a CR04 series and it says third-party bridge USB. So it clearly states that this is a bridge. We do have highlighted down at the bottom there which DLC it pertains to. So we can actually go and look at that DLC sheet that is also going to be pulled in conjunction with this bridge spec. The other in the middle is a different company, Silvair, but it is clearly classified as a gateway. So that one would be acceptable as well. And then if you look to the right, this is just another series of the Atani, for the CR01, which that one is also included, and we highlighted the DLC that it can be pertained to. These are just examples for you as to a bridge, gateway, or hub. We do highly recommend, if you are looking to do the NLC systems or controls prior to your submission, if you reach out to your energy efficiency advisor and let them know what you are looking for, that we can classify it for you, just in case you have any questions. So we're just jumping in here for some more lighting specific measures. When it comes to lighting specific measures in the workbook, we will be asking for a few of the same common things over and over again. So it will be, we would like to see the cut sheets for the lighting fixture that you guys are installing. That is, cut sheets, spec sheets, you can use those words interchangeably. We will need the DLC and the energy certification as well. For measures that do not require DLC and Energy Star, such as the exit signs or the sensors or even emergency fixtures that we mentioned in the previous slides, those we will just classify as giving us the spec sheets for them. For any of your lighting wattage, we will see this in the next few slides for, breaking down a DLC sheet or Energy Star and how to read them. But this is just an announcement. If you guys are using the wattage for the workbook, please do the exact wattage that is listed on the DLC or Energy Star. Even if there is a point, and just don't do any of the rounding. It will be 2 decimal points and spaces. The workbook rounds by itself. If you input it incorrectly, we will have to go through and do an update and make it a report and change the classification. So if you could please just, whatever is on the DLC or Energy Star, that is the wattage of record. We will go and update the wattage. If there are any adjustable watts where there is, variables where there's a minimum and maximum, please use the highest wattage reported for that fixture or light. We go based off of the highest wattage. So even if it is a variable, please don't use the dimmable variations. We will expect the highest wattage. And if it is not included, we will have to update the workbook. Primary use and lumen outputs to match a DLC and Energy Star. You will see the comparison in the next few slides as well. Please use the primary use, and some fixtures require the lumen outputs, but that will just affect your incentives and your savings. So please do your due diligence and look to make sure that we're classifying them appropriately. For replacement lamp measures, the proposed quantity in the workbook, you will see it to the left. The existing quantity is to the right. So the existing quantity in the workbook is actually listed as per fixture, where the proposed is per lamp, and it will have to be multiplied. So for an example here, if you have a 2-lamp 4-foot T8 fixture, your proposed quantity should be 2, because if you are just listing 1 replacement, you would just multiply 1 by the 2-lamp fixture, and it would be 2 proposed lamps. If you guys have any questions when it comes to replacement lamps, again, please let us know. It will affect your, again, incentives and savings. We want to make sure that you guys are listing it appropriately so you can redeem the most appropriate incentives for that project. Additionally, this will go towards your invoices. So please list your replacement lamp quantity on your invoices, not the fixture lamp quantity. You guys will be incentivized per lamp, so that is what is needed on your invoice. It will not match up if you are doing it based off of fixture. So please just keep that in mind when you are creating your invoices as well. For existing U-bend fixtures, there is no option in the workbook, so you can use the 2-lamp 4-foot option. In the notes section, you can also include that there was a U-bend just to avoid confusion during our pre-inspection. You can also note that to your energy efficiency advisor, and we can take a look at that prior to our inspections, just so there's no failure or missed notes when we come out. So this here is an example of a DLC certification for you guys to read through. And we also have highlighted a few key points on the DLC fixture or certifications that are consistently utilized in the workbook. So here are some of the key points. In green, you will see the model number that we are referencing. In red is the primary use category, so how the fixture is being used. Reported wattage is in blue, so here you'll see 48.4. In the workbook, we expect it to be 48.4. Please don't just use 48 as mentioned previously. We will also look at the reported light output, which is the lumens. So for this fixture, it's a 2x4. We might not need the output in lumens for the dropdown, but just in case there are other fixtures like outdoor fixture or architectural spot flood lights, they will actually require the lumens. So we just wanted to highlight where to look for that. Product ID is going to be in purple. Every fixture is required to be listed with product ID. And then the manufacturer is here in orange. The orange, so for the manufacturer, we expect the entire company or the manufacturer. Please don't just list an abbreviation of that. It will need to be updated. And just make sure you don't use the brand. It's right underneath it, very common mistake, but we will request an update if the manufacturer is not listed. The next slide, we will actually go through a side-by-side of a few different lighting fixtures with how it would look in the workbook. So here to the left, you will see a high bay luminaire that's going to be the LED measure drop down. So first, we can kind of go from left to right in the workbook. You will see that it says install location. It's considered warehouse. These are this submission is going all over the warehouse. There is no specific category or area. Just note if this is a warehouse space with multiple floors, please classify that. You can say warehouse floor 1. For the next line item, you can say warehouse floor 2. Or if you are doing, say, any replacements in specific areas for our inspections, it really helps for you guys to be very specific in the installation location. To the right, you'll see categories. So this is a DLC fixture and retrofit kits. The categories are a drop down for you guys to classify them. To the right is going to be the fixture primary use, so high bay LED, and this fixture happens to use lumens as category. So here where it says lumens, you'll see that in yellow. It's it's a little bit over 40,000, so that is the classification that was used in the workbook. Quantity 39, that is the proposed quantity. Again, prescriptive is a 1-for-1 replacement. So for this instance, you would see proposed quantity at 39, and existing quantity should also mirror that. We are just showing you the proposed portion of the workbook to fit it on the slide, but just keep that in mind when you are reviewing. The wattage here is highlighted in blue. So the DLC sheet is saying 270 watts. So that is what is shown in the workbook for 270 watts. No more, no less, perfectly fine. The manufacturer is listed in orange. So you will see here that the workbook only is showing technologies, but in fact, it is showing Keystone Technologies. It is just a smaller portion. So the wrap text in the workbook will only show you the last word or verbiage. Please don't get discouraged. We still need the entire manufacturer listed. So just type in the entire manufacturer. Some of the model numbers here, you'll also see the highlighted portion in green. You will only see a portion in the workbook, but please list the entire model number of the fixture. Anything that is in brackets or parentheses will not need to be utilized unless you know those options in those variables. It's going to be anything outside of the brackets and the parentheses unless given to us. And this model number in full will also need to be the one listed on your invoice for verification. So please just keep that in mind when you are creating your invoices or when you are submitting them to your customers and to us for validation. Highlighted here in purple is the product ID. So, just 1-for-1, you're just kind of matching up the colors when you are looking at these inputs. So this is a version of a high bay and how it would be listed in the workbook. This is going to be a different measure. For an example, same category, same color coding for your eyes to kind of, reflect the same type of inputs, just with different categories. This is actually a refrigerated case lighting. So in case you guys have not explored refrigeration and other lighting updates, please do so. Look at the incentive guide, go a little bit outside of the box here. We do incentivize refrigerated case lighting. So this would be a 5-foot cooler. You will see here that is the primary use as a vertical refrigeration case luminaire. And again, we are just kind of going through all of the other categories, as we mentioned with the high base. So the wattage is 16.2 this time. So we will ask you to have that 0.2 listed. The manufacturer is Anthony International. So you will see only International. Again, it's highlighted in orange. And, same kind of concept here with the model number. Have the entire model number listed, even if it's just a portion that is shown in the workbook, as well as the product ID in purple. This installation location, you will see that they are a little bit more precise because it's no longer just a warehouse facility. They're saying it is in the walk-in on the second floor. This really helps when we come out for pre-inspection, post-inspection, validation in case we miss something, you miss something, or the person on site might not be fully aware of the scope of work. So more details, the better for our reviews and our walkthroughs. The next one is an example of a low bay. So we have gone through a few of these examples already. This low bay fixture is going to also include the lumen. So if you look here to the left, you're going to be utilizing anything that's highlighted in red for primary use, as well as the lumen output in yellow. So that will be the LED measure category dropdown. Here, the wattage is 42.6. So you will list 42.6. Manufacturers, RAB Lighting. Again, this is a more condensed manufacturer, so you can actually see the entire listing in the workbook in this screenshot, and then the model number as well. So everything here is just SR4. Everything else is in brackets and parentheses. So if you just include the SR4, that would be perfectly fine. Product ID as well is in purple. So we are just kind of going through the same process for all DLC measures, just different categories and usage. So those are all for DLC. We will discuss some of the ENERGY STAR certifications, because if you only deal with DLC, once you pull up an ENERGY STAR certification, it does look a little different. So we just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in case you are using an ENERGY STAR certification. So for ENERGY STAR certifications, again, there are some key points that we are going to reference. We're going to look at fixture type, lumens for some of the measures if they're applicable, wattage as always, the manufacturer, and instead of product ID, ENERGY STAR uses a unique ID. So we will reference that in the case of the product ID. You will see here the same note as mentioned before about some of the fixtures being sunsetted and delisted as of December. So please just let us know. Again, this is just a reminder that some fixtures you may have installed are delisted, and we will need a new certification for them, or they just would not qualify for the program. So this is, again, just another reminder. You will also look to see other checkpoints for some of the plug load measures or food services. We will discuss a food service example later on in this slide, where we will actually talk about type, idle rate, fuel type, some of the things that are a little bit more niche for specific measures. We will also look at a griddle example, just so you guys do feel comfortable looking at any other measure type besides lighting. So this is an ENERGY STAR certification where we will just highlight a few of the things here. So the first line item is that unique ID that I mentioned prior. Again, ENERGY STAR uses product ID. DLC uses product ID where it's numbers and letters sometimes, where ENERGY STAR uses a unique ID and it's just a variation of numbers to be classified. You will also see here the fixture type. So this would be a downlight recessed option. The lumens would be 2000, highlighted in orange, and then the wattage would be highlighted in green for reference. Here is an example of a combination oven. So if you don't feel comfortable with reading some of the oven measures, if you guys have actually done any of the installations for commercial ovens, this is an example that you guys will be able to come back and reference. So the oven type would be combination, the fuel type would be electric. They do go based off of sizes, so you would select the drop down either full or half. So we are just showing you where to locate the size. The capacity of the pan of the half pan or full size will be mentioned in the workbook as well. We will also look for idle energy rate here in that dark blue color. Some of the modes and percentages for the cooking efficiency is in dark purple. And then if you keep looking down, you will actually see the steam mode idle rates as well as the energy efficiency listed here. This is going to be an example for commercial griddles. So for commercial griddles, again, it's the same concept. We're looking at fuel type, width. We are also looking at the cooking surface and the energy used. The reason for that is because there is an equation to get the actual idle rate since it's not listed directly on the Energy Star certification. So the idle rate is the cooking surface times the energy use, the wattage over square footage, divided by 1000. So we do list an example here, but there is another slide that we will actually reference how to pull it from Energy Star directly in case you need those directions. So this is the next slide where if you go to the Energy Star website, you go to find products, product finder, you select commercial griddles. You can actually download it and select the PDF file. Once you open it from your downloads, you just search the brand name and the model number here highlighted in yellow, and then you can find the efficiency rating for the commercial griddles. We do want to mention some of the AHRI certifications, so Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute certifications. Although we've already kind of gone through some of the other measures, we wanted to make sure everyone also feels comfortable with HVAC because Prescriptive does allow you to submit HVAC measures. Although the incentive rate is different from the other programs and direct install, you would still receive a nice incentive for doing any of the efficiency upgrades when it comes to HVAC. So some of the key components here will be cooling capacity, heating capacity, SEER, SEER2, ER, ER2, HSPF, COP, and AFUE. So these are the 8 components for us to go ahead and look through for efficiency ratings, making sure that you classify them appropriately based off of the incentive guide. And we will go through a few of these examples. So this is a heat pump example here. So we've highlighted that in purple for the AHRI type. The cooling capacity is highlighted in orange. The SEER that you would be referencing is in green. ER is in blue. The heating capacity is in purple, and then the HSPF is in red. So please note that if you go through the incentive guides for the program and it lists SEER and ER and it shows you an efficiency rating, it's not either or, it is an and. So if you look at a category, you need to meet the minimum requirements of both ratings for it to be applicable. If you need assistance reading the incentive guide, please let us know and we will assist you prior to you doing an installation and replacement. We would hate for you to do an installation of something that does not meet the minimum requirement based off of 1 or 2 points that would be classified as a rating. So please let us know if you need any assistance or help reading these if it is your first time, so that we can make sure that it is classified under the incentive guide appropriately. This is also an example of an AHRI. This is you'll see the brand name is Goldman. The model number is listed here. We just wanted to make sure to highlight the AFUE is 96.1 and the input rating MBTUH is 120. So the AFUE can be entered as seen directly onto the application, and the input rating is for the heating capacity of the system and should also be entered in the application. Please let us know if you have any questions when filling out the HVAC information in the workbook if you have not done so already. So I mentioned a lot in the last few slides about the incentive guide and how to read it. So I think it would be a good chance to actually go over the incentive guide and where to locate it. So in the workbook, in every workbook for the programs that TRC is the implementer, the workbook has an embedded incentive guide in each application. It is usually to the top right-hand corner of the application for you to click into. So for the prescriptive incentive guide, these may have been mentioned previously, but there are different sections other than the topmost lighting incentive. You'll see lighting, controls, HVAC. You'll also see some heating, water heater and boiler, refrigeration, food service, agriculture, and plug loads. We did hyperlink the incentive guide as well for you guys to reference. The incentive guide is also always included in the Trade Ally SharePoint for you to utilize, for you to download and keep on your desktop. But this is a reminder, if you are downloading and keeping any of these versions on your desktop, that you continuously look through to make sure that there is not a new workbook application that has been announced or a new version of the incentive. As you all know, we are continuously refining our programs. We are taking in as much feedback as possible to look at the incentive rates and measures to include. So there could be some variations and deviations from the first iteration that is deployed to the second, third, and fourth. And hopefully we just get better and better, and we apply some more incentives and measures for you all to review and consume. So make sure that you always are on the most relevant incentive guide and for you to review. So these are the prescriptive ones. And for the custom incentive guide, same thing here. It is embedded in the workbook. It should be to the top right of the application where you can click through it at any time. It is more condensed only due to the fact of the custom measure types, not that it is very limited. It's actually so vast that we just have to highlight the categories here to the left. It will also show you the classifications and the incentive savings. As Rennie mentioned, in Triennium 2, the incentives have gone up. They have almost doubled, which is very good for the advanced custom incentive guide tier 2. So we are looking for more participation for everyone to utilize it and ask questions. If you guys have any questions when reviewing or what is classified, please let us know so we can actually look at some of your proposals or measures that you are looking to do. This is a note here. We did highlight this in orange that it is capped at 60% of the total cost for your incentive. So your project cost does not include internal labor costs. So that is just a reminder. Again, this is hyperlinked for you to utilize at any time. So this is this is an incentive value and energy savings slide. The prescription, so just to kind of note the differences between the prescriptive incentives and the custom incentives. So the prescriptive incentives are per unit incentives. The value of the per unit incentives are determined on multiple factors. So that is including incremental cost, benefit costs, and savings. The incremental costs and cost differential between the standard piece of equipment and the energy efficiency piece of equipment. This means the incentives are not necessarily growing with savings. So it's either per unit, per fixture, per item, per wattage controlled. It really depends on the actual measure that you are looking to replace for that program, but the incentive guide will clearly state how you are incentivized. For the custom incentives, on the other hand, it's kind of a little bit of the opposite, where they are per unit savings. So they actually look at the kWh and therms, and this means that the incentive will correlate with the savings associated with the measure. We're kind of circling back here to talk about the lighting measures, just to make sure everyone is on the same page with the high base and low base requirement. For the high base, there is some requirements as to the foot candles and the installation heights. So for the high bays, it must meet the IES best practices, including the recommendation of foot candles and installation above 20 feet. If you cannot meet those requirements, we highly suggest you look for other lights to replace in those areas because they can be, we can say no to those incentives and it may not fall within the eligibility of the program. The same goes for low bays, although it is meeting the IES best practices and meeting IES recommendations for foot candles. The installation height for low bays is a little bit different. It is at a 12-foot. It's at a 12-foot variance. Well, not variance, but 12-foot height. The main determining factor is falling within the acceptable foot candle readings based on the IES guidelines of the facility and task. Meeting the heights, but exceeding the IES foot candle guidelines will not fulfill this requirement. So as we mentioned, if you start to quote your customer and you start to see that they would like high bays or low bays, please make sure that they do fall within the guidelines of the program, especially if you guys are looking to do any fast track projects. We would hate to have to not incentivize you guys for the work that you've already done. So please just make sure if you have any questions, let us know that we can meet the requirements. If you need a copy of the IES best practices or those links for you guys to look at IES, that would be, reach out to your energy efficiency advisor and they can provide that for you. We will be discussing the on-bill repayment option, also known as OBR. So for those of you that have not yet applied with OBR for your customers or your for any of your projects, we will be going over a few of the key notes here. So the on-bill repayment is an interest-free option available to the customers for their equipment costs that are not covered by the incentives and rebates. So it would basically be total project cost that you are quoting the customer minus the incentive and rebates, and then that would be an applicable amount that they can get on OBR. The formula is a little bit different. We will go over that in the next few slides, but that is basically the structure of the OBR for the interest-free. So projects that are related to cover by the PSE&G at the time of the project completion, the customer repayment is via their utility bill, interest-free of 5 years, which is equivalent to 60 months. At any time, the customer can actually pay off the OBR amount. They are not penalized. They don't have any ramifications if they say they can pay it in the first 2 years or 3 years. Again, it is interest-free, so they can pay it off at any time within that duration. It is split up incrementally across their utility bills for it to be a little bit more digestible for the customer. The OBR for all business type, we accept OBR for all business types, whether they're nonprofits, municipalities, whether it's for lighting, refrigeration, heating, or any other equipment. There is no application fee. The application is embedded in the workbook. As Rennie showed you one of those slides, what happens is when you are filling out the application with your customer or your customer is filling it out on behalf of themselves, they can list that they would like to go through an OBR application process. That gives us the right to run their FSR score, which is their Experian Financial Stability Risk Score. As long as they meet our minimum requirements, they would be eligible for OBR. The only time that they would not be eligible is if they don't meet the minimum requirement, or the OBR is over $1 million. That would just require not only the FSR to be ran, but it will require additional reviews by PSE&G, and there may be additional documentation that is required for anything over $1 million. OBR can be applied at pre or post of the project. It can also be applied for any fast track projects or pre-approvals. And OBR can reduce the energy use and achieve long-term savings for not only you, but the customer for lighting, refrigeration, heating, and cooling equipment, and more. A lot of the customers, if they have hesitation on participation with the program, the cost of the program, or what you are quoting them, OBR is really a good tool, and we've seen a lot of success when OBR has been offered. For the on-bill repayment, so some of the steps, we're just going to kind of walk you through the entire pathway. So the customer indicates that they have interest in the OBR option, so they would be looking at the project application. After they complete the OBR application, it must be signed by the customer and the contractor, so you as a trade ally. The application must specify who is going to be receiving the OBR and check, so they can sign it to you as the trade ally, but they would have to clearly list it, or they can receive it themselves. The eligibility, again, we would have to run the FSR score, which is experience stability score, as long as they meet the minimum requirement. Projects over $1 million, or if they fail the FSR score initially for the minimum requirement, will undergo secondary review by PSE&G. We will also customer and contractor install measures and complete the project. So you would actually undergo the scope of work. You would complete the scope of work, whether it's fast track or pre-approval. The final project application and documents are submitted to your energy efficiency advisor, or now actually via the Trade Ally portal for us to review. So you can just submit them virtually. We will conduct a post-inspection review, making sure that all of the items listed for your on-bill repayment agreement is applicable. And then we will actually send you the on-bill repayment agreement. The agreement is the legal documentation to state how much is owed, how much is going to be listed on the customer utility bill over that 5-year duration, what the total project cost is, what the incentive was for the project. So it is the signed document for the finalization of the OBR. And the repayment obligations can be added to the customer use utility bill in the next billing cycle after we issue the incentive checks to either you or the customer, depending on who is meant to be the payee to receive some payment. Now that we've discussed how effective OBR can be and how it can be applied to all of the projects, we wanted to show you a graph. So for any of you listening and tuning in virtually, once the slide deck does go out, we highly recommend you coming back to the slide to look at the graphs that are shown in this slide and the next one for prescriptive and custom OBR structure for Triennium 2. It has changed, so we just wanted to make sure to clearly list some of the examples for you to reference. We also want to mention that the workbooks are embedded with these metrics and algorithms for the mathematics portion of the OBR, since it's not going to be fully covered at this point, depending on the incentive rate. So just in case you guys are not great at mental math, don't worry, I'm not either. And I fully have faith in our toolbar that will do it for you. So in case you do put anything in the workbook and you have any questions on the OBR or what is owed, just let us know and we will walk you through it as well. So for the prescriptive on-bill repayment structure, OBR, anything that is less than $250,000, the full remaining project cost after incentives will be covered by OBR. And then any OBR that is over $250,000, 80% of the remaining balance beyond $250,000 will be covered by OBR. So just to put that into retrospect, into reference, if you look at the chart here, so if the total project cost for the first line is hypothetically $350,000, your incentive that you'd be receiving or the customer would be receiving is $150,000. So the total project cost minus the incentives, that is the equation that we mentioned earlier, would be $200,000 if you subtract the two from each other. So the OBR covers 100% of that cost because it is less than $250,000 left over. It's at $200,000. So there is no cost to the customer in this example. For the second example, if there's $500,000 as a total project cost, the incentive is $200,000. Again, same equation, you would just subtract the two, you would equal $300,000. So because the $300,000 exceeds the $250,000, what you would do is you would add the $250,000 plus the 8% of the remaining, which 80% of the remaining, which is $50,000. And the total would be $290,000. Subtract that from $250,000, you would equal with $10,000 remaining. So the first $250,000 is fully covered. 80% of the next $50,000 is not covered, and the customer would have to pay out of pocket. Same example for the third one, but with higher numbers. So total project cost is $70,000. The incentive is $200,000. Total project cost minus the incentives is $50,000. $250,000 plus 80% of 250 equals 450,000. Customer would have to pay $50,000. So OBR plus the 250,000, the customer pays the remaining. Again, we highly recommend you looking at this chart, utilizing the tool in the workbook. The OBR structure is new to the program launch, so we just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in reading, the metrics, the OBR agreements, making sure that the customer is aware that there will be out-of-pocket costs if it exceeds 250 for prescriptive. Same concept goes for custom for the repayment structure. However, the OBR cannot exceed the incentive amount for custom. So in the incentives, it was clearly stated that it will not exceed, the incentive cannot exceed 60% of the project cost. So therefore your incentive will never be 100% of the project cost. It does have a capping logic, but for all other items, it will be effective the same way. So OBR less than or equal to $250,000, the full remaining project cost after the incentives will be covered, and OBR cannot exceed the incentive amount for custom projects. Same with OBR over 250, 80% of the remaining balance beyond 250 will be covered by OBR. And again, OBR cannot exceed the incentives for those custom projects. Same three examples here, but a little bit of a larger margin. So the first example is a project total cost of $100,000. $60,000 are in incentives, again, because it cannot exceed 60%. So that's why we're showing you $60,000 here in the incentives. Total project cost minus the incentives would be $40,000. OBR would cover 100% of the cost because it is less than $250,000. Total project cost of $700,000. The incentives would be $300,000. Total project cost minus the incentives is $400,000. $250,000 plus 8% of $50,000 equals $290,000. So the customer would pay $110,000. Then the last example here would be $1 million. Again, it cannot exceed 60%. So total project cost is $1 million, incentives are $600,000. Total project cost minus the incentives would be $400,000. The customer ends up paying $30,000 out of pocket after the OBR covers equation is implemented. We understand this is a big update and difference for the OBR structures for the program. So we encourage you guys to ask questions, to reach out to your energy efficiency advisors. If you need more examples related to this chart, please let us know and we can provide you with some more clarity. But for anyone that is tuning in, again, please come back to these slides once they are deployed. Look at the chart in the example for the equations. It will walk you through it at a better rate than just reading them aloud to you. So please use this as a reference and as a guide for the OBR structures. So we will be discussing quality control and evaluations as it is a big part of the program, and we thrive for the best class solutions in the program, best class experiences in the program, and we want to hold not only our trade allies but ourselves to a high standard. So for quality control, the purpose of the quality control is to ensure that PSE&G C&I programs, the requirements and steps will take to remediate issues associated and adhere to program requirements by the trade allies. So making sure that we're all in our guidelines, in our trade ally terms and conditions and agreements to make sure that the best practices are being implemented across the board. So improper practices, let's just go completely to the other side. We know what the best practices look like, what ethical looks like, what customer experience looks like. This is going on the other side of the pendulum here to talk about worst case scenarios. We hope to never see anyone having to go through these items, so we will touch base on them. But these are the things that we would like you to step away from and not experience. So we just want to make it clear for everybody participating. So improper practices are situations and experiences in which a trade ally is engaged with things that are contrary to the program's success and are prohibited by the program. So some of the common improper practices are all listed. included but are not limited to the following. So we're just going to discuss a few of these, but please follow along and read them through. So any fraudulent or improper practices, any neglectful activities or misrepresentation of any kind, any false invoices or invoicing of different measures than what have been installed, misrepresentation of any third parties or the program, failure to follow our trade ally participation agreements or program documentations and contracts. Also, any dishonest or misleading business practices. I would like to mention here as well that co-branding of any kind is not acceptable. PSE&G does not co-brand with any of the trade allies or customers directly. So if there is any co-branding with your trade ally site, your trade ally emails, your signatures, or any information that is externally facing, please don't conduct any co-branding of any kind. This will classify as improper practices. And I just wanted to make sure that we notice that. Also, any threatening physical or verbal behavior, that is to trade allies, to our internal team here at TRC, or to external team members directly to PSE&G or our customers. So please, just any verbiage, emails, communication, phone calls, you guys conduct professionally, appropriately. I know that there has been some frustration, but please just make sure that you are working within the best practices of communication and professionalism in case anything is escalated. So those are a few things that we wanted to highlight for improper practices in quality control. There is a tiered system for the steps that we will go over in this slide. So for first and foremost, it is a tiered process. So it starts off with a warning and it could escalate all the way to expulsion. So warnings is the first step in meeting with TRC and PSE&G to review the program infractions. It could be any one of those that were listed on the previous slide, or any one of those that are listed in your trade ally terms and conditions and agreements that you guys signed when you first sign up. It's not limited to any one of them, but it will be considered. So the warning is a first meeting. If after your warning meeting, there is no improvement that has been found, the trade allies, you guys can be placed on a probation, which can be restriction of your participation. So this could be stating that, you can we can take away the look back participation, or we can limit the amount of projects that you are actually submitting so that we can actually review your work. So, again, we don't ever want to get to these steps, but it is an escalation of the warning not being taken seriously. After probation, we escalate to suspensions, and this is if the warning meeting and the probation has not found any improvements. You can be suspended up to a minimum of 6 months of no participation in the program or any program. So TRC implements prescriptive, custom, and direct install. If you are suspended from, say, the prescriptive program because you are utilizing that, you will also be suspended from any other program that TRC implements, as well as any PSE&G implemented program. So just because TRC implements one that you are found, in breach of your contract or ethical terms and conditions, that does not mean that you can't be suspended from all other PSE&G programs, such as, midstream or the other regions. For custom, it would be utility wide. So please be sure that we don't get to this point. We would hate to see you not participate in our programs or any other PSE&G programs. Again, if suspension does not fix all of the issues, we can go to an expulsion, which means that there is no participation in the program for at least a year. When suspension and expulsion are taking place, there are things and minimum requirements for you guys to come back and participate. Additionally, when you come back to participate in the program, we will have a limited amount of projects that you can submit at that point in time. And then we kind of go backwards from expulsion to suspension, suspension to probation, probation to warning, and vice versa as we climb up the ladder. This does not mean that if there is no, if something is not a breach of contract that should warrant immediate suspension without a warning or probation, that does not take place. That is worst case scenario. So usually it will go through these steps. However, there have been cases where we can just skip depending on the severity of the quality control evaluation and steps. I would also like to mention for quality control, you are also evaluated on your documentation being appropriate, going out and looking at your post-inspection or your pre-inspection findings, making sure that all of the items that are being submitted are properly documented, properly received, and we don't have a lot of scope changes once we actually go out to the site or failures. So please keep in mind that just because you are acting professionally in your communication and your cadence with your customers does not mean this can't happen based off of your workbook submissions, your paperwork missing, or improper inspection. So we really would like to make sure that it is communicated to you to just, quality control your projects, do the due diligence to make sure that all of your documentation is in order, that you have somebody on site, whether it's a pre-inspection or post-inspection, that understands and knows the scope of work that you are submitting so that there are no failures or missed measures that can be counted against the trade ally, against you as a trade ally. We will jump into some of the trade ally resources because we did mention a lot of the documentation, references, and things that are required for the program. One of the main trade ally resources that we recommend everyone follow and use on a daily basis, weekly basis, would be the Trade Ally SharePoint. If you do not have access, please let us know so we can give you access, whether it's for you or maybe somebody on your team that does not have this access. Everything is in those folders for your Trade Ally SharePoint. So things like the most updated version of the workbook, the incentive guides that are there, frequently asked questions and FAQs for you to get quick answers in case your energy efficiency advisor or the teammates are not able to respond to you in real time and you have a real-time question. The FAQs are consistently updated. So as more things come up in the program, we do update those, we do look at those and vet them out. So please make sure you look at the FAQs for assistance. We also have program announcements so you guys can stay up to date as to the things that are happening, whether they are, the New Jersey address requirement that was mentioned by Rennie, or OBR restructuring, or maybe the look back period, because the look back period for prescriptive was updated for Triennium 1 from 180 days to 90-day look back with a grace period. So you would be able to receive those program announcements. If you're not receiving them via your email, this is a good reference point so that you can see the PDF announcements that go out, as well as these webinars. All of the webinars that are recorded are put into these folders as well for you to reference at any point in time for training, for materials, for your own staff. We put a lot of energy and resources to keep this up to date, so please utilize it. It is for your benefit and ours for us to keep in touch and up to date week to week and month to month. We have a few other Trade Ally resources. As you all know, each one of you that are listed as a trade ally in our network, you are tagged up with an energy efficiency advisor, or short for EEA. We reference them in both manners. Energy efficiency advisors, they connect you. They are your connection to the program, the services we operate, the training materials, or any other guidance that you need to qualify for the highest possible incentives. We meet with you on a weekly basis if requested, as well as giving you an update on all of your projects in real time. Any questions or submissions that you may have would go through your EEA. And we also let you know of any other programs that would be applicable for your measures if we do not accept them. So your energy efficiency advisor is one of the main resources here at the program. They also help you connect with other trade allies and partners for you to have better efficiency upgrades. For other Trade Ally resources, we also have our amazing engineering team. Our engineering team reviews all of the workbooks that are submitted. They are specialists across the board of industries and energy technologies. They work hand in hand with your energy efficiency advisors on your projects, your scope of work, your questions. Please utilize our engineering team in case you have any questions. If you do want to have a one-on-one, especially if you are looking to submit any custom measures, we can look to see what their schedule looks like and coordinate a tag up with you, with your customer, and with our technical services team to assist you with what would be classified as custom, what would be classified as measures that would go through our engineering support, and if you guys have any technical questions that need to be answered. So some of the customer resources that we mentioned are OBR. We do have the look back option. We can guide you to any other federal funding options with other programs. We have the online application portal as mentioned, and we also have the energy efficiency consultants as in your EEAs and the engineering support teams. Some of the other references are the incentive guides, of course, the workbooks that we have. We also have monthly meetings with our sales team to make sure that we are all on board for anything that has come up. Those are considered like open forums and communication where you can ask any questions that you have relative to projects, program requirements, or any updates that have gone out, as well as the Clean Energy Jobs program and resources. So some of the program communications that go out either on a weekly, monthly, or periodic table. So there are program announcements that go out to the trade allies and contractors. Those program announcements, again, will also be in the Trade Ally SharePoint in the folder. Monthly announcements are in the form of newsletters, so trade allies are the ones to receive them. Monthly webinars, those are the sales team support and communication that we've mentioned. So those are really good to attend to. And again, if your schedule does not correlate with those, you can go through the Trade Ally SharePoint and review them at your own time or on your own speed. Weekly emails that are deployed, and then also bi-weekly forums hosted by your energy efficiency advisors. We wanted to show you a few examples of what a program announcement can look like. So these are a few that have gone out this year for the new address requirement to your left, and then program applications being launched to your right. If you are not receiving these program announcements, please let us know so we can make sure that you are on our marketing mailing list and that you are receiving them. These do require engagement. So if you are just receiving them, clicking on them, and reading them through, you will continue to stay on the mailing list and mailing note. If you are not opening these emails, if they are just kind of going through your junk and your spam, it will consider you as very low engagement and you will eventually be taken off of these announcements. It has happened. So just make sure that you still are engaging with them. You are clicking through them. You stay on the page for a little bit of time, that you read through these, because this is a standard. When we send out a program announcement, we expect all the trade allies to be aware, especially when it comes to application updates. We would hate for you to be on the wrong version of a workbook, meeting that deadline and having to resubmit with the latest version because you missed this announcement or update. So please make sure you or someone on your team is engaging with all of these announcements and program updates. If you are not receiving them, let us know. These are just examples of the monthly newsletter where we shout out a few of the things that are going on, a few of our success stories, a few of them, our team members, and anything that is actual noteworthy. We also have our monthly webinars. These are just the examples of the successful webinars that we have held in the past for 2024. One of them being our clean energy goals for 2024 and the winterization webinar. We are still in summertime, but I am sure, winter and fall is right around the corner. So just be sure to look out for any of the new webinars that are going to be deployed within the next few months. And then weekly emails. This is a structure for the weekly emails. These are just some reminders, some of the things to keep in mind when coordinating or consulting with your customers. There are some quick tips in here as well. So just make sure that you're looking at your weekly emails as well as your bi-weekly emails. Your bi-weekly emails are reminders to join open forums, to join meetings, letting you know things are coming up. Again, if you do not have access or you are missing these announcements, let us know with your energy efficiency advisor and we will connect you to our marketing team to make sure that you have them all accessible to you and your teammates. We wouldn't want you to miss anything. And some overall program reminders. We've already mentioned a few of these through the slides, but we just want to make sure that we reiterate them before we wrap up. So for any of the program reminders here, the incentives are subject to change based off of the inspections and engineering review. We completely understand that sometimes if you submit a documentation, things may be missed. It could be in a difference between wattage or input or the way that we are reading the DLC certification and the way that you are reading the DLC certification. And that's why we wanted to highlight to make sure all of the inputs are listed appropriately and accurately, that you are reviewing the documents the same way that our engineering team is, to make sure that, if there are any changes, they are very limited. So just make a note that the incentives are always subject to change depending on our inspection and reviews. No changes can be made by the trade ally to the pre-existing equipment if we went out for a pre-inspection after it's completed. So if we're going to if we went to a pre-inspection and we validated a specific amount of fixtures and specific measures, they cannot be updated once we're going out to post if there was a scope change. Any verified measures will remain the same as verified on our reports. Pre-approval letters are issued with a defined approval period. If the project exceeds that time frame, we will need you to request an extension through your energy efficiency advisor. Clearly note and list the reason for the extension so that we can note that and we can look to see if we can give you an extension period for your submissions if you are going through the pre-approval milestone track. All fields in the workbook, such as equipment type, model numbers, should be filled out appropriately. Please do not use TBD or ABC. You do not overwrite dropdowns in the workbook. This is especially in the case of those Energy Star certifications that have now been delisted. Just because they were listed in Triennium 1 does not mean that they are listed in Triennium 2. So please do not override the workbook fields. Please do not copy and paste. The dropdowns are there for a reason. We tried to take into consideration all of the fields required for those items. If you override it, it will get an error. We will have to update it, and then your incentives, savings, and rebates to you and the customer will be affected. And that's not really a conversation that we like to have, especially if there's a decrease in incentives. So please don't override any of the drop-down fields, and note any of the serial numbers for HVAC can be TBD as the serial number is unknown during the time of submission of the project. If you are submitting an HVAC project that is fast track and you've already submitted the equipment, like you've already installed the equipment, at that point you should know these serial numbers, so we would request the serial number to be listed. However, under pre-approval, prior to you doing the installation, you can include it as TBD. However, after installation, we will ask you for the serial numbers. If there are any scope changes, that should be communicated via a revised workbook at the time of invoice submittal. No changes should occur after the invoice is submitted and the final review inspection is underway. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Please don't update or change any of your scope without communication. There will be 14 calendar days to correct your discrepancies or deviations found from the final review and inspection of the project that in it is subject to discontinuation. So this is something that was mentioned prior, where the action required in your portal should be reviewed consistently, making sure that you guys are being responsive, making sure that if we do have a deviation or any discrepancies found at post-inspection, that they are communicated, that you have a clear delineation and pathway forward so that we don't have to discontinue the project based off of those findings. Again, co-branding of any kind is not permissible. This will result in a quality control evaluation, and we would really recommend you adhering to this rule. So please just make sure you do a scrub of your websites, your emails, making sure that no one in your company has any signature information that states a trade ally of PSE&G or having any PSE&G logos. Energy efficiency advisors are your main point of contact. They should be looped in on any of your questions, any strategies for training, any of the documentation that you guys are submitting. They are your link to the program and incentives, so please make sure you utilize them. And upon request, at any time, we can request some photos and videos, evidence of your installation. That could be nameplate photos, location, or information required. So we just recommend during your own walkthrough of a facility or building or your equipment, take your own photos, take your own videos, keep them on file in case our inspectors or engineers require additional information to validate your scope of work. It just makes the entire process a little bit easier when you already have them on file. Okay, well, I thank everyone for joining today. We had very high participation, which is always great and good. We really hope that you take advantage of all of our programs that we currently have and the programs that we have yet to launch. We are looking forward to your participation. If you have any outstanding questions that have not been addressed today, please let us know. Reach out to us directly. My name is Zainab El-Shibli, and this is my colleague, Rennie Yu. We can answer any questions needed or reach out to your energy efficiency advisors directly, and we will get you all set up. We really appreciate everyone for joining us today. Happy Triennium 2.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.